Breaking tonight, good news continues for 4 candidates on top of the Republican field as new Fox News polling shows who the voters like and who they dislike. We're going to break down why those numbers matter. Welcome to the Kelly File. I'm Shannon Bream in for Megyn Kelly tonight. First, Senator and presidential candidate Ted Cruz wins the Values Voters Summit straw poll with a barn-burning speech that brought people to their feet with support. Take a look.
I'm here to ask each and every one of you, stand in your faith, stand with your principles, come together. How do we turn this country around? Just like in 1980, we rise up as we the people, and we say we will defend this last best hope for mankind, this shining city on a hill that is the United States of America. Thank you, and God bless you.
But Senator Cruz is not the only Republican candidate enjoying a campaign upswing. Ben Carson saw fundraising and polling bumps over the past week, appearing to show that his comments on Muslims and the presidency failed to discourage his base. Carly Fiorina continues to draw more Republican support as she builds time on the trail. And Senator Marco Rubio appears to be stealing the spotlight from his former mentor. Take a look at the latest numbers. Dr. Ben Carson way out ahead of the pack with a net positive of 52 points. Next up, and nearly 20 points back in the 30s, are Rubio and Fiorina in at 35 and 30 net positive points. Trump and Bush way farther down. Joining us now, Chris Direwalt, our Fox News digital politics editor, and Howie Kurtz, the host of Media Buzz here on Fox. Gentlemen, good evening to you.
Evening, Shannon.
All right, Chris, what do you make of this? Because those favorables in the long run are very important. You can get a lot of headlines, but not necessarily be loved by the potential voters. You need to go to the ballot box and pull the trigger for you.
Well, Shannon, let's say you and me decided to get into honest business and opened a coal mine, and we went and opened it, and we were looking at which coal mine we wanted to buy. We would care a lot about how much coal that mine was producing at a given time. How much was it putting into a barge or into a rail car? But we'd also care how much was in the ground, the proven reserve that was still in the ground yet to be mined. These favorability ratings constitute what's yet to be mined for these candidates. What's the space? Who are the people that are open to the idea of potentially voting for them? And that's why if you're Cruz, if you're Carson, if you're Fiorina, if you're Rubio, you say, look, maybe I'm not number one right now. Well, in Carson's case, he's tied essentially for first place with Donald Trump. But you say, maybe I'm not number one right now, but I got proven reserves in the ground and people like what I'm saying. If you're Jeb Bush or you're Donald Trump, you say, my reserves, I may have higher numbers, but my reserves are thin, and they've got to figure out a way to change that.
Yeah, I mean, Howie, there was a time where being likable or funny or having a good quip on the campaign trail really didn't mean anything. That didn't factor into the way that people chose that you should be president. But things have changed.
Well, being from Brooklyn, I don't know anything about coal mines, but what I do know is that Marco Rubio is the only practicing politician here who may be about to break out of the second tier. And it seems to me that he's been helped by a couple of good debates, as well. He's got a certain degree of charisma, but also he is attacking Donald Trump. I know you're going to talk about this later, but Rubio insiders tell me that Marco is not looking to engage Trump, but he does feel he has to fight back when asked in interviews because Trump is ramping up his attacks on the Florida senator, and therefore I think that is the media love conflict, and that is getting some of the spotlight onto Rubio. As for his fellow Floridian, Jeb Bush, if you had told me 3-4 months ago that Jeb Bush would be in 5th or 6th place with 7% of the vote, I would have said it would be more likely that scientists would find water on Mars. And that's not
Wow, way to tie all the headlines of the day together, Howie. Okay, he is the master. All right, Chris, it's not just about favorability, and I know that you've been looking at this about, you know, you have to have money to stay in the game. There are other factors. So when you kind of put together the stew of what you need to stay in this for the long haul to get to Iowa and potentially beyond, who does well with the combination?
So right now, Ted Cruz is doing single battle against the entire United States Senate. It's not getting him anywhere, but it's not getting him anywhere procedurally, but it's getting him donations. I'll guarantee you right now, the fight that he's engaging with in the Senate tonight, over funding and Planned Parenthood and all that stuff, that helps him get donations, and that helps him stay in the game. And he'll have plenty of money. That's why he's in a very good situation. With Ben Carson, it was an open question. Is Ben Carson going to have enough dough to go the distance? Is this going to be a summer fling and then he fades? Well, we find out that he had solid, very solid fundraising in this quarter, $20 million, his campaign manager told NBC, and they saw a substantial uptick after he said he wouldn't vote for a Muslim president, and he was rewarded by his donors for that. So building that war chest right now, and Rubio and Fiorina are doing the same. That's how you get that coal mine. That's that money that you need to run your man trip to get in there and get that coal out on the conveyor belt.
It's always back to West Virginia, isn't it?
It's always back to West Virginia when we can.
Now back to Brooklyn. With Howie. Okay, so let's talk about a couple of these folks. I watched Senator Ted Cruz today on the floor when he railed on the establishment. He railed on Republicans who he said have made all these promises. They won the House and the Senate. They're not getting anything done. I mean, that definitely is his line of argument, his line of campaigning. But Howie, is he going to be able to, it definitely appeals to his base and his supporters are strong and he's got a good grassroots army out there essentially. But can he expand beyond that enough to win the nomination, to stay alive for a while, and you know, long-term in a general?
Well, it depends on how angry Republicans are at the mess in Washington, because Cruz, by design, is not the most popular guy among Beltway Republicans. His fans love that, but people who are more skeptical say, well, can he really, is he such an outlier in terms of taking on the system, what he calls the Washington cartel, that can he lead effectively? And I think in the general election, if he were to get that far, that could be more problematic. But going back to Carson, it's really noticeable. The media have been pounding on this guy for more than a week over those comments on Meet the Press about I wouldn't advocate a Muslim as president. He later qualified it. Show after show, including 2 Sunday shows yesterday. What this says to me is, one, a lot of Republican voters agree with him, and secondly, they dismiss the carping by what they see as the media elite, which they see as out of step, and Carson perhaps more in tune, according to the people who are saying and telling pollsters at least that they like Ben Carson.
Yeah, and for a lot of these candidates, that's the exact badge of honor that they're hoping to leverage. All right, Chris, Howie, West Virginia, Brooklyn, good to see you both tonight.
You bet,
Good to see you.